It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. All right, we're back with our discussion on teams, talking about norming, performing.
Who's back?
All that kind of stuff. I was going to get into that. Welcome, podcasters. Say hello and introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Chad Jetner.
Hi, I'm Peter Lawrence.
I'm Nick Bruecken.
And I'm Kyle Bacher. Thanks, Nick, for joining us. He's our special guest on this journey we've been taking on teams. How do you build them? How do you storm, form, and norm?
Talking about teams on teams.
We put this team together to talk about teams. And I feel like after doing two of these, we've really come together. Everybody's focused, communicating, contributing, supporting each other. We got good leadership. We're organized. We're having a good time. Things are going well. I feel like we're done storming.
This is where the facial expressions come in.
That's one opinion.
We've done those trust falls. Yeah. We walked on the coals.
Did you just watch the Office episode? Is that what this is?
No, but that's what I remember.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So it's all in there. It's all in my head. That's when it comes out. Yeah. So what is, to you, Nick, what is, like, how do you recognize that you've normed? What's the tell?
What are some signs? What are some traits that you're looking for?
Yeah.
I think taking it out of just pure like metrics and, performance, I think of things like teams laughing together, sort of a gratitude forward environment where it's like horizontal in the like all the gratitude or all the shout outs go like it's flat. So there isn't like a always top down appreciation where a manager or a director is always saying, good job, everybody. That the team also feels like they can say good job to you too, or even begin it that way. Stuff like that, I guess. I think they call it like a beehive mentality where what's good for the hive is kind of the mentality instead of what am I doing as a bee, but everybody understands what each person's doing to contribute to that hive. And those are things I kind of look for and seek to build in a team. We all know what we're supposed to be doing as a job. It's how do we do it together? And how do I know that it's working together besides just knocking stuff out?
Yeah. The bugs have kind of been shaken out. The interpersonal relationship, like friction and posturing ego, like that stuff's all been taken care of for the most part.
I was just going to jump in and say it is squelched
those people
down enough to function.
Yeah, toned down, separated.
What do you guys look for? Like, what traits or characteristics are you looking for on a well-normed team, a performing team even? What?
Chad, you go first.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just like constant feedback, right? And like a comfort level with everybody to do that, right? And not just like end of a sprint retro, all of the agile ceremonies that we have around it, but once we've kind of normalized as a team, the idea that everybody's comfortable giving feedback, to Nick's point, the kind of cheering each other on, that happens horizontally, up, down, all over the place. But that's kind of my metric, is that if everybody's giving like quality feedback, right? Like well thought out things, and we're not just, emotional about our responses, but we're actually like, hey, this is, on a given day-to-day basis, like this is wrong, and we can tell each other and we can talk to each other, and we don't need to filter all the conversations up through this rigid structure. You know, like, hey, this is wrong. I'm going to talk to this guy about it. He'll tell you about it. And you get that game of telephone. Like, that's it, right? Constant, consistent feedback, communication. It sounds so basic, but like facilitating that and getting to that point has
Achieving
been
that is
tricky for me.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the focus is on the project, the goals, the work itself, and what it takes to do that, that's the focus, not the relationships of the people and the drama and the politics and the like fixing, interpersonal issues. Like it's not on the problems. It's on the solution you're trying to build, whatever those shared goals are.
But it's not to say those don't exist. It's just simply you've
Right.
you've you've adopted a shared mindset of granting the benefit of the doubt, or I always say
Yeah.
assuming positive intent amongst
Right.
each other, so that when those things happen, they automatically go through that door instead of immediate gut reaction of
Right.
negativity or attack or feeling attacked.
Yeah, those have gone from being walls to being like speed bumps in the road.
Permeable walls.
Yeah.
Osmotic.
So, from my standpoint, just looking at sort of the remote work aspect of things, when I really felt a team getting together on as a remote team was the Slack channels volume of conversation picks up, the going back and forth, the hey, can somebody take a look at this? Hey, do you have time for a quick meeting? That kind of thing. Just kind of everybody's kind of huddling up and getting back together and doing it sort of round robin with each other and having a great time.
Yeah. It's like in baseball. Like if you're all just standing out there in the field, the coach yells at you, come on, put some pepper on that ball. Come on, mix it up. Like they want you to be like mixing it up, talking to each other. Let's get some chatter out there. Let's get it going. When that stuff's going, people are talking and
That gives me an
asking
idea for
questions.
stand-ups.
Yeah. You're moving forward.
Get some chatter going. Chad, you wanted to jump in.
Well, no, I mean, that's one of the things that, me and the other tech lead, like we genuinely encourage, like once banter starts happening in teams, in pull requests, wherever it can happen, once we see it, we encourage it, but we participate, we, like shine a light on it so that more of it happens. And I mean, we've established regular ceremonial, Wednesday happy hours and breakfast and all this other stuff that we do as a team anyway. And then from that goes, we get to like almost constant throughout the day banter and good feedback, interesting feedback on pull requests. Like so I live in, we live in GitHub. We're constantly like reviewing each other's code, writing code, putting things in there for people to find. That's always fun.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Like there's a non-zero amount of Easter eggs, and getting people to get to that level and get comfortable, like takes it.
It's not zero.
It's non-zero effort, but depending on if it's you grabbing if you're able to form your team, or if you're given a team, we talked about this weeks ago. The group that you're given can make that challenging, but it's almost never impossible, right? Like recognizing everybody's strengths, everybody's weaknesses, who talks, who doesn't. If this guy's bantering, hey, holy crap, we've done like, that guy's cracking jokes now. We're good. Like we're really good.
And that's another thing I would say, that the team picks up on it too, right? Like the team recognizes that so and so is finally bantering, and like,
it feeds into itself.
Yes, we're a team, and now we can all go together and we're attack or whatever. Let's get this problem.
Contagious.
Yeah, you got to get to a certain level of trust to really bring those people out. Like this is safe. This is a safe place. This is where you can say stuff, and if it's a bad idea, no one's gonna hammer you for it. And just feeling comfortable
Yeah.
being part of that team.
Because the flip side to this is everybody has a great time playing, but no work is getting done. You know,
Right.
so
Whoa. What do you mean?
so
Working constantly.
it
I'm not
can,
working
you
right
know,
now.
or more like somebody really falls in love with playing, but then they're not holding up their end of
Oh,
the team delivery, right? It can be too much of a good thing too. It is an interesting. It's never done. It's just like software. There's always more to do and more variables that can come into play to upset the balance of a well-formed, stormed, and norming team.
so it looks like they're busy, but they're walking from cube to cube, interrupting everybody's work
And
with
and
half-hour
there's an
conversations.
intangible benefit to that, but but if you're depending on their code or their, whatever, and it's not getting done, but they are constantly doing that, Peter, that starts to have there's a perception that takes hold.
Sure.
And so you do have to, not to make this an infomercial on SDG, but like we have that kind of nice balance where we're all kind of individuals. We're all assumed to be professionals. We trust each other in those roles, and we all do what we say we're going to do, and we have fun. And so we don't worry about if it's going to get done, and I don't, that doesn't just happen overnight. And that doesn't mean there isn't.
You look at just consulting, after a while, you become really adept at walking into a team and finding your sea legs quickly so that it's not such a huge disruption. Like, I think we do it so often, we team up so often and have to work together on stuff that you become adept at it. Like, you make it happen faster and go smoother because of that experience. You've run into those things before. Like, you get into a group and you're like, okay, that's the loud guy. That's the quiet person.
We have that all in common, right, Kyle? Like, we come in, we're all consultants, so we all know how to start new somewhere, but where we go, that's not always the case. And
right.
And so you don't have that in common. So what do you do to find some of those besides, hey, we're both Java developers? What else do you do to find something in common? And how much does corporate rules get in the way of that? Sometimes connecting people can have a hesitancy to share too much or to come off as controversial or something like that. But the connection of human spirit, you have to have these things. So what do you do to build that? I heard Chad said, breakfasts and stuff like happy hours. Peter, what were you?
Nick, can you talk about like corporate rules? Are you talking like don't ask about their children, their religion, their this, that, or the other thing, right?
Yep.
Do not ask interview questions, which, I mean, technically you're not interviewing anymore, but.
Right.
But that's right. What you're talking about?
Yep, those things. Or if there are those rules and you're not really sure what they are, you end up deciding not to even approach anything because you're not sure if you're going to be breaking a rule,
Well, and I tend to share those things and not expect someone else to tell me them back, right? Like, I have kids and I will talk about them at work occasionally. I will not spend my whole day talking about them. I'm not that person, but and that's just not me internally.
Here goes Peter again with his kids.
Yeah. No too much.
15 minutes in, who won?
There's certainly those TMI people like, whoa. Let's cut this conversation short. I'm going to run away now.
Maybe that information should be between you and your doctor. Yeah. I think to get to the performing stage where you can hit that like flow state as a team, you gotta have the norming kind of down pat so you can move on from there. Being in a high performance, successful team, where you're just getting stuff done, stuff's happening, everything's clicking, there's chatter, there's like, you can hit this laminar flow state um, where it's just
Did you just Google
smooth as
something?
silk. What?
I need to
Did you
Google
just
it. What's laminar?
We're all
Not to take
looking
you
at
off your thought
Kyle
trail.
going, yeah.
That was a
So
good
if
one.
you
The
empty
article,
if you empty a jug of water
Huh.
and it's going glug 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 glug, that's not laminar flow. It's glugging.
Oh, good one.
If you empty it in such a way where it's just a pure clear stream, no ripples. You ever see those fountains that shoot like a jet of water across to a like another hole? Like they shoot water around these clear streams.
like in Vegas.
Like in Vegas, yeah. Yeah. Watch the YouTube video on laminar flow. It's Destin. I forget his last name. He's an engineer, but he talks all about it. But that kind of just that's the most efficient way to empty that jug.
Okay.
Is get that laminar flow going.
I absolutely love that. Can't wait to use it. Because that's true. I mean, that's a great metaphor. Like our team is a jug of water and we're starting to pour ourselves out and it's glug, 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 you know. Stuff's happening, but it's definitely not efficient. You know, some of it you have to slow down to speed up, and some of it you gotta really tip the thing. And yeah, that's good
Sometimes you gotta stick one of those oil funnels in the side of the jug and then tape off the whole. Yeah.
Shotgun the jug of water.
Yeah.
Is that a TV reference? I don't know.
So that flow state, you're all about the work, and it's those days go by fast. It's easy. You wake up kind of thinking about your day, wanting to go in. You know, I've been on a few projects like that where they're just a treat to be on. It's like a dream. Like this is going so incredibly well that all my future projects are going to suck in comparison.
Well, hold on now. The start of all my future projects are going to suck in comparison. We were talking about, jumping into teams, and as a consultant, you do get experience jumping in and paying attention, taking in the information, feeding it back in a way that makes you part of a team and gets you closer to that normal team state at the end, because you're jumping into an already normalized team and they're going to feel some turbulence or some non-laminar flow as you jump in, because you're an outsider, you're coming in, and as a consultant you like take in that information, you share some pieces of yourself to everyone on the team individually, ask questions, learn about the code, get up to speed, and then become part of that team and get to normalized. So yeah, we practiced that from all the positions in the team, including somewhere they've gone past norming and crashed and burned, right? And you're coming in to clean up the pieces. So yeah, I think a lot of it's experience. A lot of it is job change faster than most people, right? Because your gigs are a little bit shorter than a career at every place, right? So I think that helps out a ton. What are some things you can do to just sidetrack a team? Like, to be the boulder in the pond all of a sudden, are there some things that people on the teams can do to just kind of wreck that laminar flow, so to speak? What's the easy ones? I mean, go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, like, it's hard for me to answer, right? Like, there's external factors that make that happen really, really fast. I was actually, once I saw that Nick's eyes lit up, I was excited to hear his answer, because like we are in, like I'm in a flow right now. It's going really, really, really well.
Yeah.
I want to know what to look for that's going to screw this up.
Looking for
If you
trouble.
could use specific names and
Names and stories.
yeah.
No.
Well,
And
we
sometimes
highlighted
it's
one earlier, didn't we? Where you have a team member who's just not, maybe they started out great, but they got a little too comfortable with things and aren't holding up now their end of what we're expecting as it pertains to, producing whatever the team's meant to produce. Chad, you highlighted something else, external factors of, somebody coming in and being like, we're shifting everything, or I'll tell you what, one of the big ones is we're splitting up the teams, or we're reorganizing. I've been at clients where that happened quarterly. So
nice.
it was just yeah, really it's frustrating. It's also a new opportunity to try the same things again. But it does get a little bit.
You got right to the brink of norming and then back to storming, huh?
Yeah, turnover, obviously people leaving or retiring or whatever the case may be, and onboarding new people can always throw turbulence into our flow. I mean, there's any, number of things.
Personal challenges, obviously. I've seen some of that come through where somebody's going through something personally.
Yeah.
And
or how about the
unavoidable.
Yeah, or how about the team is awesome and we are doing great and nobody uses our product and the thing is shutting down.
that is a sad state.
Yeah,
I've been there too, where you're
yeah.
just like, we produced the most awesome, fun thing, and now it's going away.
We did it in such a great way, and we never want to go anywhere else, and the money's run out.
Yeah. That's hard. Like when things are really going well and it's that you never got to finish. Like it's just something happened outside of the team, something changed, new leadership, reacting to something in the market.
Yeah.
But before we get into mourning, go ahead, Chad.
Oh, I was going to say, wait, mourning. Sounds like
the team is ending. The team is ending. We were just talking about.
Yeah,
it's all falling apart. I just decided to.
Do you guys like once a team is norming and we're flowing and things are continuing to flow? Do you have any like specific things that you do to keep it going, right? Because like you could lose steam fast, right? Like you could have energy and then the energy just kind of dissipates, even with the same team, the same people and everything. And I'm trying to we're continually trying to keep people going. But do you have anything specific that you do to make that happen? Like
things get stale no matter what, right? You have to continue to stay. Yeah, like these are like the activities you do, right? Happy hours, breakfast, those are great until they become stale. So coming up with new ways to interact, retiring certain things so you can bring them back later to keep it kind of fresh. At the end of the day, there's always new opportunities. We went full remote, so then all of a sudden you had to come up with new things. So games, ways to just kind of keep things kind of fresh, but also interactive. I was doing this recently where we were share your what's your mood today, by movie title or song title. Like just share what you're feeling by song title or movie title, or a GIF. What have we ever established?
Yes.
What is the answer?
It's both.
We did on ours. The one question I ask new people is, how do you eat a chicken wing, a flat? Right? It's a non-controversial. It's surprisingly controversial. And there are sides. Here's how this actually gets fun, right? And the point was, it's a silly thing that that everybody kind of gets, right? And then when somebody new joins the happy hour or joins the team, the first thing we do is we get a basket of wings and nobody says anything.
Right.
We just watch the new person eat a flat, right? And then the person is just confused when half the team is like happy and half the team is like, oh, come on, what are you doing? right? So
And you'd all be upset when I pass the basket of wings pie and just say like, no, these aren't worth it.
Or
do
where's
yours
the
I would
drumming?
say
in
as far as
dinosaur shapes, Peter?
sorry, as far as initiations go, I think that's a really good one.
That's a top one. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
way better than college, that's for sure.
Yeah, no hazing. It's just maybe some light hazing on a fork. Really, that's the
Yeah.
extent of the hazing.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I might have to put that in my
performing-
interview questions. I'm just
Yes.
kidding.
But it's another part of like what I mean, so that is intentionally silly and it's non-controversial, right?
And meaningless. Yeah.
Absolutely meaningless. But we make, I mean, it's kind of a caricature of whatever, right? Like it's absolutely meaningless and nobody's that emotionally invested in how to do it. But there's things like that we do constantly, right? Like
But we all had an opinion, by golly, and we cared about that opinion. And it was a
Exactly.
safe place to express that opinion and get to know
That's
each other
true.
a little bit.
yeah,
I like it.
So I think you can go get taken a step back. You run into obstacles, things can happen. How do you maintain resiliency to minimize the impact of those things? How do you maintain resiliency to minimize maybe the loss of a team member? To like maybe you're getting they're not gone, but they're not
Gone, but not
able to
forgotten.
perform the same because of outside forces or something. How do you quickly react to that stuff?
Yeah, so they have a bike accident or a car accident or something like that, and they're laid up away from the team, right?
Hmm. If you've
But they'll be
established
back.
yourself as a very, that's the thing about teams. And if the organization is on board with building strong teams because they understand the highest performing teams are delivering the highest value to their products and therefore driving, the most bang for their buck, then when somebody on the team gets, hurt or, there's a hiccup, there's still hopefully an organizational, I think, mindset that we got to keep this team together and either adjust our expectations on what this team can produce during this time to support them and be supportive of them as a unit rather than just saying, oh, we'll just fill another bot. Like the answer has to be a little bit more thoughtful and team focused if that's really what you've established. And I would hope to see that rather than just, oh, we lost somebody, we're going to backfill them, and therefore we're going to continue to produce. That's just so. I call that waterfall approach, where numbers are numbers, bodies, people are numbers, and we can crash anything with bodies. It just doesn't work that way. We all know that now, and so it's more important to just respect the fact that team has established themselves as high performing. They're awesome. Keep them together. Support them during this time of need or whatever, and see it through. And as you see it through, you can continually, just like anything, review. How is it going? How is the loss affecting the team? Would it be helpful to bring somebody on to shake things up and, or, whatever the case may be. So it creates new opportunities and new avenues. But at the end of the day, I think you're still seeing it, I hope, as this is a high performing team and we really care about them continuing to be high performing.
Yeah, like are they able to absorb the loss, take on the extra, shoulder that extra,
Yeah.
whatever it is that person left behind, versus having to replace that. And I would
Well, you
say
see-
that in some cases, just like it'd be worse to introduce a new element into the team than for the rest of the people to step up and put their shoulder into it and drive it over the finish line.
It depends.
But doing that repeatedly, because I've seen that happen where it's just, we lost a person, now these three people have more responsibility. Well, we lost another person, now these two people have more responsibility. there's a point. You can only handle so much for so long. And if you're going to dump an extra burden on people, they can only shoulder it for so long.
If you haven't adjusted um, the productivity of that team despite this loss, then that's not respecting the team, right? That's not understanding that this whole group is working together as a magnificent machine. We just lost a part. The machine's not broken, but it's not performing as well. So we have some choices here. Do we continue to let it perform in its current less efficient state because it's still better than most machines? Or, do we need a new part? And then that gets into other things. We see it all the time in sports, right? Like a person retires and they are like, well, we'll just sign a free agent. And everybody on paper is like, oh, we're going to be so awesome. And you find out they're not because the fit is wrong, or some team signed somebody who's like, who the heck is that? Right. Like last night, the Vikings drafted a safety. They had a chance at this top safety, Hamilton, who they passed on. They took this other guy. For all we know, that's the right move because maybe the guy they took is actually a better fit for that group. We have no idea.
Could be brilliant.
It could be a mistake. We don't, but point is that when you're dealing with individuals and the effect on the team, you really still need to consider the whole team, not just looking at that slice and being like, I got to replace exactly that slice. You won't be able to. It doesn't work that way. And Peter, I think you said this in maybe the first pod or second pod about how as soon as a person changes, like it just everything shifts. Like it's no team is the exact same, I think is what you said. And
I like that quote, and I'll take it if it's mine. But sounds good.
Somebody said,
Chad's got to jump in here, though.
No, I was going to come in with a meaningless Twins fact. They win 65 to 70% of their games with Buxton in the lineup. They win 30 to 35% when he's out. Right, and that's my Twins side of Nick's Vikings draft grievance, which is valid.
But that's looking at the team with one individual in place and ignoring all the other factors that may impact that win-loss, right? Or impact that team. That team, maybe because that person is out and something else happened, could also have affected it. But on paper, it looks like, yep, that person is magic. Can never lose them.
And sometimes that is the case on a team. Sometimes you do have those magicians, and when they are lost or for a time, it does have a stronger effect
together.
That's right. Yep, and that's totally fine too. It can be anyway, right? There's no one type of team that you actually are looking for. You're looking for the team that's working for the thing you're doing.
There is no mold. There is only a set of guidelines, right? There's no magical team mold that if you get this and this and this and that. I mean, professional sports proves that every day, right?
That's right. And so do we, frankly, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think recognizing that a team is a thing that you need to work on. Like, it can happen organically and people will self-organize and they will become some sort of a team, but is that going to be as successful as like having somebody that understands team dynamics and team building and this whole process and fielding a team and cultivating that, getting it to the place it needs to be, monitoring it, so that it's how well it's doing, like all the care and feeding that goes into it. Because I think sometimes it's just, these are the people that are going to work on it. Here's the stuff we want them to do. And that's your, and then just let it happen.
That's a group.
Well, they might work together on it.
You might get lucky. But they're being grouped together with no intention of building a team as like the mindset of that isn't team building. It is for doing stuff.
Right.
and I think what we're trying to talk about is the value of teams, of building
Yes.
teams, of having cohesive units of various personalities and skills that are working together, and they're happy working together, and they're producing because of it, and because they do that, everything goes up, right?
Yeah.
And so the company is winning because of it, versus I just am going to put some people together because the effort calls for that, and I have
Yes.
no focus on building them into something,
Right.
that because I don't see the value in it. I just see the value in these 5 people typing and testing something.
Right.
And you can get stuff done. It might take longer. It might be low quality. It might not be a place that those people want to stay. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that go into.
Yeah. You might have some leadership within that group that emerges and does the team building and knows that that's important.
Using the sports analogy, they're all teams in the league, but there are bad ones.
They're not all number one, are they?
No, sadly.
And just to take that a little bit further, that's sort of some of the, and I don't want to disparage anything here, but just kind of the offshore mentality that I've experienced at some points along in some projects. It's like, we will do that work with, the term is offshore, like magical offshore people that will get together and do that work. But we will not invest a single ounce of building a team with them, bringing them in, making them part of the unit. None of that. It will just be like a magic place that you send work to and it comes back. And behold, it does not come back as expected all the time, right?
Right.
If you ask for a car, a lot of people have different ideas of what a car is.
I'm reminded of that Simpsons episode where Homer is allowed to design the car from his brother.
Exactly.
I
So
just think every car should have a dome.
and they should, but they don't. So, and there's reasons for that.
Was that the Canyonero episode?
Canyonero. No.
No idea.
I don't think so. I think it was like
Was
season
Canyonero
1 or
with
2.
Mr. Plow? Was that the Mr. Plow as well?
All right. Time out. Let's not talk about this because we obviously don't know what we're talking about. We're close. We're very close to knowing what we're talking about, but not quite.
So, as a person, as an individual member of the team or the group, you're going in to this existing group of people. It could be a well-oiled machine running, or it could be just a group that you're getting added to, but you're going in as an individual. What's your next step? What do you do? Like, you want to be a part of an awesome winning team. How do you get there?
Sometimes, Kyle, what you were bringing up, like joining an awesome running team is sometimes far more difficult than joining a team that's broken, because there's not a lot of changes you can make, and you have to make space for yourself in this awesome team without breaking it as you come in, right? So those are like two wholly different things, and kind of challenging.
You'd think that would be the case and not the bull in a china shop.
Well, bull in a china shop works great as long as the china's all bad, right? But if it's all perfectly set up, it's not as good.
Or if you're trying to destroy the china, then that's
if you're trying to clear out the space, that works well. And
I just I think going in, listening
is huge,
and waiting and absorbing and being in that new mode. Like, people don't want to be the new guy anymore. Like, people don't like being the new person. So they want to get to a point where they're not looked at like the new person anymore. I think you want to maintain that new person status as long as you can. because then you can hang back and listen, and there's not this huge expectation that you're going to knock anything out of the park, but then you can ease into your role instead of trying to rush it and horseshoe your way in. Shoehorn horseshoe horn your way in.
I think that depends.
That's a big
greatly.
One.
Yeah.
And what does the team need? What are you bringing to it? There's a lot to that. Sometimes the team needs exactly what you're bringing in that moment, and actually the worst thing you can do is sit back and be quiet.
Right.
Sometimes you are better served to just digest, consume, please stop, interject, acting like you have all the answers. It just
when you walk into a dysfunctional, languishing team and you can recognize why or what's happening, what they need to do, like speak up, but make sure you're right.
And how you do it matters. Sometimes you don't want to point out the flaws. People are aware of it, but you need to take a softer approach. Sometimes you do need to hammer it. It just depends. But I guess the question is, right, what does being part of a team mean to you?
Yeah.
And when you're coming into a new place, are you aware of what the organization's expectations are you of being part of a team? Because that's rarely, if ever, defined in any interview I've ever sat in.
Or communicated or anything, right?
Yeah, there's just broad assumptions about what a team is and what it means, and you'll fit right in. And beyond just what we've established as our working agreement together, what else is there? So I'm curious to hear from all of your experience. Have you ever been to a place where they've said, this is what we expect our teams to do or how to work together? Or, you don't want to be too prescriptive either, but some guidelines might be nice.
I've walked into hurricanes where it's just chaos and like trying to get a hold of something, nail things down, figure out what's going on. You're doing some of that. And then you still have like the work you're supposed to be doing. So you want to make sure you get that done. But I think you just have to, through experience, you get better and better at kind of knowing what you're getting into and knowing what things like can sabotage you. You can sabotage yourself with people walking in and just trashing their tech. Well, whoever did this, there's just things you go in strong, being loud and opinionated right away. Doing at my last place, when I was with these people, I did no.
It's one of my favorites, all-time favorites.
Yeah. Be cool. Doesn't that always boil down to Chad's primary rule? Be cool.
And relax. Like, that's my biggest thing is, to Kyle's point, you go in, you might not have massive expectations on your shoulders, or maybe you do, who knows, but relax, build up some context for what you're trying to do, right? Like, you're not just there to be a team member, you're there to solve a problem, to write code, to do math, whatever the heck, right? But be quiet for a couple of days, build context, and then ask smart questions, right? Like, don't try to get yourself into a position where you can start asking smart questions quickly for whatever you're trying to solve. It's such vague general advice, but it matters to me, if somebody comes onto my team, that they just start asking good questions, right? Or even a couple of bad ones, and or reframe questions in a way that we hadn't heard before from outsiders' perspective. Hearing that stuff is good, but just put yourself in a position to start asking good questions, and do your work, and eat a chicken wing the right way.
There
right?
you go.
That's
The Kyle way.
Or
So,
don't, because variety is the spice of life.
exactly. Yeah. Maybe you're a
I
drummy
was
guy.
That's right. I was looking at it sort of as sort of back in the day when you'd go to a party, right? You'd walk in the door. Sometimes there'd be somebody there greeting you, bringing you in. Hey, come on. This is welcome. We've been waiting for you. This is great. Come on in. Other times there's nobody there. There's just this party going on in the background, and you're like, I've got the right address. I know that. Nobody's recognizing me. Nobody's acknowledging me.
I don't know any of
But
these people.
I don't really know anyone super well. I'm not seeing the guy that invited me, but I'm gonna, slowly work my way into the party, and some of those parties are the best ever.
They're also
right?
not kicking me out. And
Exactly.
some of those parties that are really welcoming are cults, and you don't need to.
Yeah.
Have they formed a
Right.
circle? They have. Okay, I'm out of here.
But
Right.
but the teams are kind of like that too. Some teams are like super welcoming, like, oh, come on, we got your computer ready. Here you go. We've put your nameplate on your desk. Welcome. We know who you are and we've been expecting you. Others are like, your computer's coming in a few weeks. We're not sure exactly what's going on. We think we need you over on this team, but there's this other team too. Can you just kind of know everything for all of these things?
And I'm too busy to actually care that you're here.
Right.
My priorities right now are these things, and you're in the way. Without saying it, you are saying it when you do not provide the attention to somebody when they start. Like, it's the most awkward thing in the world when a new team member comes on and you're like, well, I'll meet with you on Wednesday
Right.
to introduce you to how we do things.
I'll
For
just keep
now,
myself
here's some stuff to
occupied.
go read. Have a good time. That's onboarding is a constant challenge, and it's also a challenge and that's probably another sign, just to bring it full circle, another sign of a good trait of a team is how they onboard a new person.
Yes.
How many people are contributing and are involved and volunteering and aware and planful of it even. Like, I've got
And
my hours set with them to go over these things, and and this is going to be your onboarding, buddy or whatever. Like, it is telling, I think.
Well, and then is your onboarding not only onboarding that role, that skill, that that need, but also onboarding a human being that is just going into a new situation and
just walked into a party and
has
doesn't
no
know
idea what's
anybody.
happening, just met 1,000 people. Like, I do the security training. Part of my security training is about a third of it. The rest is getting to know people and answering questions and pointing out things that they can look at and do while they're waiting for a gig. It's like I try to do more than that, more than just my little piece of it, because I think it's helpful to have as much of that as possible.
Some anchors. Yeah.
Any parting thoughts, Chad?
No. I will say that Byron Buxton went 0 for 8 over the last 2 games for the Twins. And then when he did that, Max Kepler stepped up and hit 3 home runs. And I also just pulled a Max Kepler signed baseball card out of the pack of baseball cards my wife got for me because I am still a 12-year-old boy.
That's amazing. That's
the
a
kind
pull.
that gets me excited. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's great.
Nick? Parting thoughts?
Only that I was just taking notes because I thought of a new exercise to take with my team, and can't wait to do it. And it is simply just asking them, what are the traits of a high performing team? Because just to hear from them, and then from there take it to, what do we want to be? And that they have say in it, and then they get to buy in, and maybe we'll, take that next step further into the norming performing stuff. So thank you for having
And then
me.
we're all going to get together and watch this video on laminar flow. That's my parting thought. Achieve laminar flow.
All right. My parting thought is be cool, read the room. Those are the two best things you can do.
Excellent. Well, thanks everybody. I think we'll wrap it up. Nick,
All right.
thanks for doing these 3 podcasts, the series.
Oh,
We'll have to think of another one.
thank you for having me. It was a great time. I really do appreciate it.
No problem.
I like what you guys are doing here.
I like the cut of your jib. You got moxie, kid. You're going to make it. Excellent. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
So long.
See ya. Goodbye. Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.